That have just joined us, my name is Kieran O'Dowd. I'm the founder of Mtandao Versity, a school of soft skills. The platform literally talks about those characteristics or behaviors that attract opportunities all employers are looking for. Today I'm not alone. Today I am with Kieran. Welcome to the show, mate. It has been a while. I've got to tell my viewers, Kieran, that we used to work together back in 2005.
Yes. Yes, in Africa, Nyumbani orphanage, not orphanage, yeah, orphanage, yeah.
Yes, Nyumbani Children's Home. And right. So Kieran, you had come there to volunteer, and also you're working at that time for the Citibank. Is that correct?
Yeah, I volunteered at that time, and then I changed career paths. I came back to the US and decided to go into nonprofit marketing. So I did that, and then I worked for different corporations as well, but I did a consulting assignment at Citigroup, and then I'm now working with the Partnership for Maternal, Newborn, and Child Health that is it's hosted by the World Health Organization.
Right. Well, you're the right person to ask this question, Kieran. With all your experiences, personality does matter, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I mean, you really want to like the people that you're working with.
Right. I know, can people, I'm going to talk about my context. I've been very lucky to travel a bit, mostly in African countries. And most of the times, people invest a lot in education, which is good. But they don't build their personalities. And these affect in terms of opportunities.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to find a way to stand out to an employer or even to people that you're working with. So I think it's important some people call it a personal brand. I like to call it just presence, having some type of a presence in the workplace.
Can someone build this kind of stuff? Can someone build a personality?
Well, everybody comes with a personality, but a lot of people don't necessarily show it. And I think people have to think about, okay, well, what personality traits do I really want people to know me for? And then to work on displaying those personality traits in situations on the job.
So what kind of stuff are we looking at here when you talk about things that people want to see?
Yeah, well, somebody might be very calm under pressure, so they become known for that. Or somebody might become known for their sense of humor, or somebody might become known for what they do outside of work, different volunteer opportunities that maybe they incorporate and get people involved in at work. So people kind of have to think about their value, what they think their value is, and then bring that out in the workplace so that people see it. Because you do have extroverts and you have introverts. So extroverts are more comfortable self-promoting themselves, but it doesn't mean that they're more effective or that they're doing as much work as maybe an introvert, you know?
I'm going to push you a bit, Kieran. So when you talk about personality that people want to see, so what exactly are employers looking for? And I'm asking this because of experience in what you've done and what you do now.
Right.
People, what exactly are you looking for, or do normally employers looking for?
Yes, well, I'm looking for somebody who is friendly, somebody who can interact well with others, gets along well with other people, somebody who can influence people to do something that maybe they don't initially want to do, but it's an idea that you had and you think would be a great one. Somebody who can sell their ideas. Somebody who's productive.
Can people show this during an interview?
Yes, I mean, I think the interview starts as soon as you meet somebody in that company. So once a person comes to pick you up, let's say in the waiting room, that's where it starts. So you shouldn't be silent, you should introduce yourself. And a lot of times, if you're walking down a hallway to meet with somebody else, you should make sure that you have conversation with that person who's walking with you. So just be upbeat and friendly. And yeah.
So, please carry on, carry on.
Yeah, and then during an interview, so talk about professional things, but also talk about some personal things and ask the interviewer, oh, well, how did you get here? And what do you think your biggest challenge has been? And ask them to give you kind of a little bit more about them as a person. I think most people like to talk about themselves. Most people like to think that the other person is interested in them. And after all, we're all people. So we want to be able to relate to that person that's coming in for the interview. And I think you have to relate on not just a professional level, but also on a personal level.
Also, I like when you talked about when you're in the interview room, what to be picked up. You start talking about that person that has come to meet you. But most of the times, when people in an interview, they feel a bit intimidated or they feel a bit tensed. And, for example, where I come from, you don't ask questions until you're asked. So you are saying sometimes, okay, to have those kind of chit chats, personal stuff, or what exactly are we looking at?
Yeah, so tell me about your background. Tell me how you got to this company. Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what you find is challenging. What advice would you give to a new person starting at this company? Or you may have looked at their LinkedIn profile and see that they're active in some type of activity, so you bring that up. So yeah, you just want to connect as a person, because you want that person who's interviewing you to remember you. So the way that you get somebody to remember you is by engaging them.
Yes. Also, I like that, Kieran. And I'm glad you mentioned about LinkedIn. For those that have just joined us, this is Mtandao Versity, a school of soft skills. And the platform talks about those characters or those behaviors that attract opportunities or employers are looking for. And today I'm talking to Kieran, who currently works for WHO. When you talked about LinkedIn, Kieran, sometimes it can be overhyped, if that's a word. Like, normally people don't necessarily talk about who they are, but they kind of try to hype themselves a bit. Is that okay? Is that allowed? Should people be doing that?
To talk about yourself?
Yes, I mean in a more of a boasting manner, and I'm talking about LinkedIn,
right?
Seen as a platform where people talk about themselves and what they do. And sometimes, if you've never been employed and you don't have those kind of experiences to show on LinkedIn, people tend up to talk about themselves in a particular manner that comes across as boastful. I don't know whether you've seen that. Yeah,
no, I have seen that. So some people who might self-promote, I mean, that's fine if they want to self-promote. I think it's good to do a little bit of that. Some people take that to a different level that I think is not healthy. And sometimes they start, taking credit for other people's work. But it's also the manager that has to have empathy and has to be a person and has to kind of reach out to people to get to know them as well. It has to be kind of a back and forth.
Yes, yeah. Let's talk about that at the interview stage where someone's come pick you up. I was reading something the other day, and this writer was talking about how to show interest in a company that you want to work for. And one of the things that this writer was talking about is sometimes if you know whoever's going to come and interview you, you should do more of research about him, his personal stuff, so you can talk about hobbies. Right. You can talk about where they come from, their background. And something that really struck me is that sometimes we are picked, or during the interview, the secretary or reception come and pick you up. Right. And people tend to ignore that person because it's just a desk person, it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter really, isn't it?
Yeah, every touch point matters. So every person you meet matters, because that person might say something to the hiring manager. Oh, that guy was so nice. He struck up a conversation with me. I really liked him. And that might be a factor. I mean, that person who's hired is going to have to get along with everybody in that office.
Yes. Also, I like that. And I like the way you say touch matters.
Yeah. And, you can't be too stiff. You don't want to be too stiff in an interview. You know?
But if you've never been employed, Kieran, how
Mm.
to, how do you know what to talk about? And again, so most of the people that listen to us are people that maybe struggling to get that kind of opportunity. So if you've never been employed, you're fresh from school, you're a fresh graduate, how exactly do you show your personality? Or what do you talk about?
Well, I mean, the interviewer would ask questions about the activities that they've been involved in, why they want to go into this particular field. So I think there's plenty to talk about, even if that person has not been employed. Usually they've done some kind of internship or have been in some kind of activity or club that they can show leadership skills for.
So I don't say about clubs, so you talk about school. So they talk about what they used to do in school and how active they were in school.
Yeah, their experience in school, so how they work together in teams in schools, what they're most proud of, what their biggest accomplishment was during college, for example. Yeah.
I want to talk about they are looking for someone that fits in the team.
Right.
Most of the times you see this in adverts. What exactly do they usually mean? Is it someone who's fun? Someone who's, for example, like clubbing, or what exactly do they mean by someone that can fit in the practical measures, really?
I think somebody who's a good team player, somebody that gets along well with others, somebody that reaches out to other people, somebody who's friendly, somebody who makes friends, somebody who's collaborative. Now,
when we talk about international development, where you are in right now,
right,
and people that want to break into that kind of field, what kind of personalities do you think can attract those kind of opportunities?
Well, there's a lot of cross-functional team management and cross-sectoral team management. So again, it's about appreciating personality factors in each of your partners, being able to reach out to those partners, propose ideas, being able to interact, being able to talk about the mission, to speak well, and to have some excitement and some passion about what you're doing, I think is important too.
Can people show passion in an interview?
Yes, but just by their expression, I think passion comes across in their expression and the intonation of their voice, how excited they feel about it. And that's why you shouldn't be too stiff either. You shouldn't worry too much about, oh God, did I have the perfect answer, or,
Yes.
Yeah.
But, I know I asked this earlier, and I'll ask again. So you don't think personality can be trained, or can be developed, or can be enhanced?
Well, no, I think you can be trained to bring out your personality. So I don't think it's enhancing a personality. I think it's training to bring that out.
So you're born with a personality. It's up to you to strengthen it.
Right, to strengthen it and to bring it, well, not necessarily strengthen. I think it's just all about bringing it out to people. So letting people know you and what your personality is. If you have a sense of humor, tell some jokes, and if you're very active, talk about how you're active, what you like to do, and find kind of a niche of where you would fit best within that organization, and what would you be doing that would really set you apart.
I see. So normally, so you match. You don't just go talk about everything about yourself. You want to match the opportunity and some of the things that you have to do, isn't it?
Yeah, your personality and the factors in your personality that would make you right for that particular, not only job, but it could be a team lead. It could be something within the team.
In the US, Kieran, do people actually, in the university, for example, do people talk about soft skills? I mean, because I do know where I come from, where we come, it's about passing examination. It's about grades.
Right.
But most of the times they don't necessarily talk about soft skills, this personality you're talking about here now. With your experience, having lived in the States, I know you're in Europe, do people talk about that at school level?
I'm not sure about school level. I would think so, but definitely in the US at the bigger companies anyway, they talk about those soft skills. So empathy and having emotional intelligence, trying to kind of figure out what that other person might be thinking, or figure out if they have certain stumbling blocks.
When you say about emotional intelligence, what exactly are we looking at here?
Emotional intelligence is just being cognizant of other people's feelings, or how another person would feel in a given circumstance.
Right.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Now, from where you sit, where it's very international, people from various communities, how will an individual stand out, not to be seen as a competitor, obviously we're all ambitious, but sometimes we can overdo it, especially if someone's very young and has never really worked in a major international corporation, but they find themselves where you are, where I am. How do they make sure that, yes, they show their personality, but at the same time also they respect those that are in front of them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just in terms of group meetings, it's how they act, it's what they say, it's how friendly they are outside meetings to people around them, how helpful they are, how collaborative they are.
So do people mind about others about themselves? Like, if I'm ambitious and I want to do what I want to do, should I just carry on and assume that people will accept the way I am, or should I actually learn what other people like as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to be yourself, really. Yeah, and but it doesn't hurt to ask people, get feedback. I think feedback is always helpful. So you might just ask a colleague, oh, how did I come across in that meeting? Any advice that you would give me? I think that's always helpful. You don't necessarily just need feedback from a manager. You can get feedback from a colleague.
Right. And when the phrase "be yourself" sometimes can be, personally, I feel can be a bit overrated, because if I am who I am, but I want to fit in within a team, really. So I kind of leaves some bit of who you are and try and fit into what they're looking for. As what I'm trying to ask you, Kieran, literally is, yeah, this phrase "be who you are," really, does it actually help, or is it's just a phrase that doesn't mean anything?
Yeah, I mean, if a team is requiring certain qualifications, I think you have to determine, do I have those qualifications? Do I have those traits? And you probably do, but you maybe just need to make sure that you bring them out, those specific traits that you have, when you are meeting with that group.
What is the relation between coaching and personality, or mentorship and personality?
Well, mentorship is just kind of taking somebody under your wing. So let's say a manager is mentoring somebody who is new to the company.
So do you mean at the employment level, or do you mean when even someone that has not been employed yet, still in university, and I want to go into a particular field? Do you mean that those people, they should actually invest into mentorship or try and seek for mentorship?
Yeah. I mean, you can have a mentor before you get a job, and you can have a mentor on the job as well. A lot of the bigger companies do have mentorship programs where the new person starting would be able to check in with somebody and say, hey, what do you think of this situation? And where can I go within the organization? What advice do you have for me? But you can also look for a mentor on LinkedIn. A lot of people check off if they're interested in mentoring people, or scheduling informational interviews with people if you're interested in their career path. And a lot of times, I know that happened with me. From one informational interview, the person became like a mentor to me, because I didn't just leave it as, okay, let's have this one informational interview. I built a relationship with her. And I think that's important on the job too. It's building relationships with people.
Right. So
it's not just working with them or telling them you need this by a certain day. It's building relationship. When I worked for an advertising agency, I worked in account management, and part of account management is making sure that the timelines stay on track. So you are basically going into somebody's office and making sure that they're meeting the timeline, making sure that the work is getting done. But we were always told that make sure you go to these people and talk to them when you don't need work, because you don't want to be that person that people dread seeing.
Yes. I was going to ask that. Yes. I
mean,
some people are very excited. And for example, in a bigger company where you know that the boss there also is kind of a public figure or a celebrity, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a fresh graduate, I've just got my first employment, and I skip all my managers and go straight to the top guy. That can be detrimental, isn't it? It can actually hurt you than build you.
Yeah. In what scenario would you skip and go up to the top guy?
Well, for example, there are those bosses that are very, very genuine, very friendly.
Yes.
For example, so I used to work for this particular company that's quite big, and the boss also was seen as a celebrity in that particular country. But he was very, very friendly. He'll come and have dinner with us, or come and have lunch with us. He'll shake our hands.
Oh, right.
Us, and sometimes that can be misinterpreted, and you start developing friendship, which is okay.
Yeah.
And you start asking this particular person about other opportunities, or you become friendly with him. And some of the middle managers may not appreciate that.
Yes.
I don't know whether you understand what I mean.
Right. Well, in some instances, you can't worry what they think. You're free to develop a relationship with anybody at the company that you want to develop a relationship with. And sometimes you do meet people that are a higher level just by different activities that are going on at the company. Sometimes companies have kind of clubs that meet. Sometimes there's a gym, and you might see somebody that you've always wanted to talk to, so you can go up and kind of create a conversation and build a relationship. So yeah, I don't think people should be scared to not talk to the people that are up at the upper levels. It gets back to the fact that we're all human beings. We all like friendly people, we all like to converse and find out about other people.
So people should never be scared. And for instance, for who you work for now, people normally see, or even where I am, people normally see those kind of names as very big, and I cannot, for example, if you're a fresh graduate and you feel like you've got something that, let's say, international companies are looking for, most of the times people get a bit timid, is it, by the name of the organization?
Yes, I can see how that could happen. Yeah.
So what do you tell people like those, Kieran? Then?
You should always really kind of go for it. If you want to work for a specific company, then you should go for it. But once you get in, you don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. Yeah. People want to be comfortable with other people. It's just like interaction. People want to be comfortable with the interaction. So and realize that you have value. If you were hired, you're walking in with value. So they wouldn't have hired you if they didn't find that you had some kind of value to that organization. So don't forget that.
So when you talk about value here, we're looking at more than just academics. We look at the experience, who you are as a person.
Yeah. Looking at it all, looking at academics and what they've done outside academics, the clubs, their leadership roles, community service, and their academics, of course. But you also want to like the people that you're hiring. You want to make sure that they can do the job, but you also want to like them, and you also want to like working with them. So I think, when I've interviewed people, sure, I ask all those questions about their background, but I want to make sure that there's some kind of comfort between the two of us if I'm going to bring you onto a team.
Yes, yeah. And nowadays, I don't know about you, but I actually feel like employers are going an extra mile to try and get more of a personality rather than, let's say, academics. Obviously, depending on what kind of role they're looking for.
Yeah.
And this, listen, I know that, obviously is a factor. But when I was talking to you, when I was talking to somebody about you and that you come into the podcast, this particular person, let me just quote if I can find it. Yeah, when they're talking about, you're saying that, soft skills is just another jargon, really. It doesn't really matter who you are as a person. And he gave an example of the doctor. He said, if you're a doctor, you qualify academically, and you know your staff, it doesn't matter whether you've got soft skills or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not true, because you're interacting. If you have a job where you're interacting with people, soft skills are very important. So.
And we talk about, when you say soft skills, we look at leadership skills, emotional intelligence, how to communicate with people.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's the whole package. It's the whole package that's important. So a doctor, for example, they have to have good bedside manner with their patients. they have to be emotionally intelligent to kind of try to figure out how that patient might be feeling if they just got bad news or whatever. So yeah, so they still have to be that kind person.
Yeah, I cannot let you go without talking about race as well.
Uh,
And most of the times, I want you to team it again. People with color or people of color, they normally see roles or where, for example, where you are at now, they normally say like, if I'm black or if I'm this particular race, I don't think I can fit in this organization, or I don't think I'll be given that opportunity because of my color. So what do you think people like those, or those kind of philosophy that people are developing now, where color comes first before you actually apply for a particular role?
No, I mean, a lot of companies have diversity and inclusion programs. So, I mean, I think people of color have the same opportunity that that other people have.
But it doesn't work though, Kieran. Like, for example, where you are right now, I want to ask you, how many black people are there, for instance. But for example, where I am at, it's the number is very, very insignificant. And the more companies close or don't actually actively look for diversity, they'll never change anything really. And this will continue discouraging people that want to come and work at international level.
Yeah. Well, you mean recruiting programs, company recruiting programs?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, companies do have quotas that they have to meet, at least in the US. So you want to make sure that you do have diversity within your team.
I see. And interesting. So it can be from a policy level. People should actually have a policy that kind of, invites or attract diversity.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Diversity and inclusion programs. Yeah. And that's a program or department that is active during the recruitment, but it's also active to employees on site when they become employees to make sure. Yeah.
So carry on.
Yeah, to make sure that that person is being valued, and just talking to that person to see if they have anything that they want to talk about, or if had any issues or any stumbling blocks, or they think there might be racism within the culture of the organization, somebody that they can go and talk to about that. So there are programs in place for that.
But as a candidate, you should never worry about that. As a candidate, you should just go for opportunity.
As a what?
As a candidate, or for example, if you've got an interest in a particular role, you should not worry about the history of that particular company. I think you should just go for it. Forget about your color.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I would say that you should probably look into companies that have a good diversity and inclusion program.
But if the one
you might want to look for companies that have people of color in leadership roles. So those could be qualifiers of companies that you're in your search.
But sometimes, Kieran, if I want to work for an organization and you look at their profile, they don't have many people that look like me. Should that make candidates a bit scared, or should they just go for it?
Well, I think they should go for it, but they should bring that up in the interview. Are there diversity and inclusion programs? What percent of people are of color that are in leadership roles? And I mean, you never want to go work for a company where you're going to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So
and
you want to go to a company that's going to support you.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's about diversity is about not just the color of a person's skin, but it's also about sexuality and a lot of other factors as well.
Well, what about that? When it comes to sexuality aspects, should people talk about that? It doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about experience, but does it matter really? Like, if you know that this particular company does not have that kind of diversity, should people talk about it, or should people look at? I don't know what I want to say. Well, should people talk about it? Let me ask that.
You mean talk about when you get the interview, or?
Yes, yes, indeed, yes. So you talk about diversity, you look at the profile of the company, and for example, then you look at the color, the race is very balanced, and also because you don't know sexual orientation of other people, should you even ask, like, how do you treat people? What kind of opportunities are here for people like those?
Yes, you should ask. Absolutely, yeah. You want to know that company is fair and is going to be fair to you and is diverse.
Right. So you don't think that can make, or as a fresh candidate who's very open and obviously respect the diversity, should they be cautious when they talk about some of these challenges in companies that they want to join?
Should they be cautious?
Yes. I mean, should they not?
I think when you go for an interview, you're judging the company just as much as that company is looking at you to see if you'd be a fit. That company has to be a fit for you too.
Yes, yes.
So I think you do have to judge that. If you don't feel like you're going to be comfortable, then don't take the job or don't go for the job. Yeah, but it could be that you want to make change as a specific company, so you're willing to take that job and make changes by maybe starting a diversity and inclusion program.
Right, and this is the kind of value you're talking about, is it? This added value, and I think it's very important for people that listen to us here. It's not just about ticking the boxes that employers are looking for, but also you want to bring something extra on the table. You want to stand out.
Right.
And I like what you're saying here. You can take these other challenges that are not part of your role, but because you want to add value to this particular company, you can talk about these things.
Right, exactly.
That's interesting. Well, listen, Kieran, just the last part of this. I know you've got to go. But I just want to go back to personality level again. And as you say, you've got to stand out and you've got to be yourself.
Mm-hmm, right.
But people that come from, let's say, poor communities, people that, for example, struggle to go to school, or even struggle to get employment. What do you tell them about personality, and how should they develop this? Or I know you say you cannot strengthen personality, but you've got to know what you have, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to know what your personality has and what traits you should bring out in a specific situation. Yeah, like it's all about developing a presence. You know how
do they build this then? How do they build this presence?
By not being afraid to be themselves. I think you just have to be yourself in situations. And you have to be willing to take risks and willing to put yourself out there.
What's the role of the family when it comes to personality?
I mean, your personality is developed through your family. I mean, it's hereditary, and then it's developed in the home. So
if you come from a home that's not very supportive, then what next?
In terms of bringing out your personality?
Yes. So for example, you come from a home where, for example, you wanted to be, let's say, a doctor, and you happen to be like a mechanic. And people look at these kind of jobs differently, and the family feels like you've let them down, or you find abusive relations in families. So someone's kind of hindered, or someone's kind of put in a box where they.
True, yes. Yeah. But I think in order for that person to be happy, they have to find out who they are and what's going to make them happy.
Wow, interesting. Well, listen, Kieran, I cannot thank you enough for your time here.
Okay.
The last segment of this podcast, what I normally do is I usually ask guests to introduce you to someone else. So I'm going to put it to you as well. So you know what the podcast is all about, the platform.
Yes.
Can you bring me someone else? It doesn't matter where the form, what qualification they have, but they can talk about soft skills.
I can think about that and let you know for sure.
Okay, so I will take you responsible for this then, Kieran.
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And again, really, really nice being in touch again and get to experiences.
Yes, definitely. I hope we stay in touch. Yeah, this was great. And thank you for reaching out.
No,
let me know if there's anything else I can do.
No, thanks for showing up, Kieran. And thank you very much. I do have a nice afternoon.
Okay, you too.
Cheers. Thanks, Kieran.
All right, bye.